Hello, I'm Cass. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my summer TBR. Now, I don't typically do seasonal TBRs, but I was feeling pretty inspired and thought I'd give it a shot. I have quite the selection of books, lots of romance, some fantasy. I think those are like the only two genres I actually have on this list, but with summer literally upon us, I thought it would be fun to go ahead and lay out my TBR before you. We'll be going through about 15-ish books, so I hope you're ready. Without further ado, let's go ahead and just hop straight in. The first up on my list is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Now, I know Tessa Bailey is a very large and popular romance author who writes a lot of contemporary romances, and her books seem to be typically pretty well received. Now, Tessa Bailey is one of those romance authors that I see everywhere, but I just have not tried out any of her books. I've tried like Emily Henry, obviously love her, Ali Hazelwood, obviously love her, Abby Jimenez, but Tessa Bailey I just haven't really dipped my toe into because I've been really scared. So I went ahead and found her most popular book, which was It Happened One Summer, which also seemed pretty adept for summer, and I thought I'd give it a go. Obviously, no expectations going into it other than, you know, it's gonna be a contemporary romance. However, if you think that I should read a different Tessa Bailey book, maybe one that's a little better, maybe let me know, or maybe I'll love Tessa Bailey and be asking for more recommendations. But go ahead and talk through what It Happened One Summer is about. Piper Bellinger is fashionable, influential, and her reputation as a wild child means the paparazzis are constantly on her heels. When too much champagne and an out-of-control rooftop party lands Piper in the slammer, her stepfather decides enough is enough. So he cuts her off and sends Piper and her sister to learn some responsibilities running their late father's dive bar in Washington. Piper hasn't even been in Westport for 5 minutes when she meets big bearded sea captain Brendan, who thinks she won't even last a week outside of Beverly Hills. So what if Piper can't do math? And the idea of sleeping in a shabby apartment with bunk beds gives her hives. How bad could it really be? She's determined to show her stepfather and the hot, grumpy local that she's more than just a pretty face. Except for it's a small town, and everywhere she turns, she bumps into Brendan. The fun-loving socialite and the gruff fisherman are polar opposites, but there's an undeniable attraction simmering between them. Piper doesn't want any distractions, especially feelings for a man who sails off into the sunset for weeks at a time. Yet as she reconnects with her past and begins to feel at home in Westport, Piper starts to wonder if the cold, glamorous life she knew is what she truly wants. LA is calling her name, but Brendan in this town full of memories may have already caught her heart. I love a good small town romance. Truly, they're my favorite little things. Honestly, Piper sounds like kind of an insufferable main character, but hopefully she'll grow on me because I'm gonna be stuck in her noggin the whole book. So yeah, I thought I'd go ahead and give a Tessa Bailey book a try. This is the one with the most reviews and the highest reviews on Goodreads, I'm pretty sure. Fingers crossed that I enjoy it. It sounds obviously very summery, very perfect for summer, so I thought I'd go ahead and throw that on my TBR. The next book on my list is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Now, I haven't read anything by Ashley Poston, but I know The 7-Year Slip is pretty well received. It's like contemporary romance, but it has some fantastical elements in it. I wanted to give it a try. I don't think any of Ashley Poston's other books are really up my alley, but I saw this book on my roommate's bookshelf and thought, hey, it's there. I might as well try it out for the summer because I can borrow it. It's right there in my house. Why not? An overworked book publicist with a perfectly planned future hits a snag when she falls in love with her temporary roommate, only to discover he lives 7 years in the past. Sometimes the worst day of your life happens and you have to figure out how to live it. So Clementine forms a plan to keep her heart safe, work hard, find someone decent to love, and try to remember to chase the moon. The last one is silly and obviously metaphorical, but her aunt always told her that you need at least one big dream to keep going. And for the last year, the plan has gone off without a hitch. Mostly. The love part is hard because she doesn't want to get close to anyone. She isn't sure her heart can take it. Then she finds a strange man standing in the kitchen of her late aunt's apartment, a man with kind eyes and a southern drawl and a taste for lemon pies. The kind of man, before it all, she would have fallen head over heels for. And she might again, except he exists in the past, 7 years ago to be exact, and she quite literally lives 7 years in his future. Her aunt always said the apartment was a pinch in time, a place where moments blended together like watercolors, and Clementine knows that if she lets her heart fall, she'll be doomed. After all, love is never a matter of time, but a matter of timing. The concept sounds very interesting. I'm honestly not sure how I'll feel about a more contemporary romance with this fantastical element overshadowing everything. It'll definitely be a dip outside of my comfort zone, but one I am willing to explore. The next book is How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwang. Now, she's actually the screenwriter for the Emily Henry movies that are coming out, so that's really exciting. And obviously, I had to give this a go. I was watching one of Sid's videos from Sid Bookworm, and she read this, and she said the concept that drives these two main characters together is very out there, very extreme, very almost non-recoverable. But since I already know what it is that draws these two characters together, I kind of have adjusted my expectations to just enjoy it for what it is and don't think too hard about what connects these characters. Helen Zhang hasn't seen Grant Shepard once in 13 years since the tragic accident that bound their lives together forever. Now a best-selling author, Helen pours everything into her career. She's even scored a coveted spot in the writer's room of the TV adaptation for her popular young adult novels. And if she can hide her imposter syndrome and overcome her writer's block, surely the rest of her life will fall into place too. LA is the fresh start she needs. After all, no one knows her there. Grant has done everything in his power to move on from the past, including building a life across the country. And while the panic attacks have never quite gone away, he's well liked around town as a screenwriter. He knows he shouldn't have taken the job on Helen's show, but it will open doors to developing his own project that he just can't pass up. Grant's exactly as Helen remembers him. Charming, funny, popular, and lovable in ways she's never been. And Helen's exactly as Grant remembers too. Brilliant, beautiful, closed off. But working together is messy and electrifying, and Helen's parents, who have never forgotten Grant, have no idea he's in the picture at all. When the secret comes to light, they must reckon with the facts that theirs was never meant to be any kind of love story, and yet the key to making peace with the past and themselves might just lie in holding on to each other. This seems like a very interesting book, especially because Yulin Kwan is literally a screenwriter herself and adapting popular novels, so I feel like she's drawing on a lot of her experience and putting a lot of her own personal anecdotes in her story. So I feel like it'll make a very real and authentic type of story, but again, that like overlooming shadow of a very depressing, tragic accident that draws these two characters together is kind of major. So it'll be interesting, but it is her debut novel and I'm excited to pick it up and see what I think of it. This is one that I never thought that I'd ever touch with a 10-foot pole. However, I have just been tempted too much by this book, and that is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Now, I have to give apologies to Jan. Jan, I am so sorry for judging you for picking this book up, but I've heard so many good things. I didn't realize it was a small town romance. I am from Texas, and I have that trait about me where anything innately country, cowboy, that sort of those vibes, if you will, I immediately dislike. I'm like, keep that away from me. However, I'm like, why deny my roots? You know? It reads, she's off limits, but he has never been good at following the rules. It's such a cheesy opening. I kind of dig it. For the first time in her life, Clementine... This is the second book with a main character named Clementine. That's so funny. Clementine Emmy Ryder has no idea what she's doing. She's accomplished everything off her to-do list. She left her small hometown of Meadowlark, Wyoming, went to college and made a career for herself by doing her favorite thing, riding horses. But after an accident makes it impossible for her to get back in the saddle, she has no choice but return to the hometown she's always wanted to escape. Luke Brooks is in Meadowlark's most notorious bad boy, bar owner and bachelor. He's also the unofficial fifth member of the Ryder family. As Emmy's older brother's best friend, Luke spent most of his childhood antagonizing her. It's been years since he's seen her, but when she walks into his bar and back into his life, he can't take her eyes off her. Despite her better judgment, he wants to do a whole lot more than just look at her. Emmy's got too much of her mind to think about romance, and Luke knows that he should stay away from his best friend's younger sister. But what if Luke is just what Emmy needs to get her spark back? Or will they both go up in flames? Small town romances get me, y'all. Like, the second I knew this was small town, I immediately put it on my TBR and I'm like, oh, what have I done? I think it'll be so fun. And if I really like this one, I'll probably pick up the sequel, which is Swift and Saddled, I think. It just seems like a fun time. And I have nothing else to say other than, Jan, sorry for judging you in the bookstore when you bought this book. Because look at me now. The next book is actually a reread for me, and that's People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This has been my favorite Emily Henry book up to this point because I recently read Funny Story and I think that has taken the top spot, but I wanted to compare the two, compare and contrast, and I wanted to see if People We Meet on Vacation actually is my favorite because I haven't read it since 2022. Two best friends, 10 summer trips, one last chance to fall in love. Poppy and Alex and Poppy, they have nothing in common. She's a wild child, he wears khakis. She has an insatiable wanderlust, he prefers to stay at home with a book. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they are the very best of friends. For most of the year they live far apart. She's in New York and he's in their small hometown. But every summer for a decade they've taken one glorious week of vacation together until 2 years ago when they ruined everything. They haven't spoken since. Poppy has everything she should want, but she's stuck in a rut. When someone asks the last time she was truly happy, she knows without a doubt it was that ill-fated final trip with Alex. And so she decides to convince her best friend to take one more vacation together, lay everything on the table, make it all right. Miraculously, he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything, if only she can get around the one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? This was a 5-star, one of my favorite books of 2022. Absolutely adored it. Made me fall in love with Emily Henry, and I can't wait to return to it. I know this is one of the Emily Henry books that has a little bit more of a mixed reception when it comes to people loving or hating it. I absolutely loved it, but again, I want to see if I loved it more than Funny Story, because Funny Story was so good, like such an easy 5 stars to give. And People We Meet on Vacation was the same way, but that was 2 years ago. So I'm very curious to see, and I'm also really hoping that it does hold up, because I've reread some other romance books that I've given 5 stars in the past, and they didn't hold up as good as I wanted them to. So I'm hoping that this one will, or I'll be sourly disappointed. The next book is also a reread, but like, don't be surprised. Technically it's 4 books, but it's the Well Met series. If you know anything about me, you know that I love the Well Met series so much, and I will use any excuse ever to reread these books. I've already reread them once this year, but summer is too good of an opportunity to pass them up. I actually might be going to a Renaissance festival at the end of August, and so come August, you know, if I'm in the mood, perhaps I may pick them up again. They are honestly one of like my favorite romance series like ever. They all take place at a Renaissance festival, or at least have the Renaissance festival incorporated in some way. They are honestly my comfort reads. I will probably reread them 3 times total this year, and I have no problem with that. It is who I am, it is what I am. So we have well met, well played, well matched, well traveled. And apparently, oh my gosh, y'all, I was on a Patreon sprint with my patrons, obviously. Someone let me know that there's a 5th book coming. I was like hemming and hawing, being like, oh, I wish she would come out with another book, but it looks like she's like moved on from that project and she's writing other books. No. There's a 5th book coming out, and there's no details released whatsoever. I don't know what the title's gonna be. I don't know what the character we're gonna follow is. I have like my suspicions about who potentially will be following, but I kid you not, I have never been more excited to hear that another book was gonna be released in a series. I was like flipping my shit. I was so excited. So that's coming out sometime next year, but I want the details, I want the announcements, and hopefully we'll get that this year. And then I'll bide my time waiting for it to come out. I'm so excited. There's a couple of mangas I'm briefly gonna go through. Those were kind of like my romance books that I wanted to get to this summer, and now just like the couple manga that I have my eye on. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Volume 11 is coming out. Frieren is my favorite manga of all time, and Volume 10 ended on such a cliffhanger, and I'm so excited for the translated volume to come out. The cover is gorgeous. I know we're gonna get some action, hopefully some answers to what's going on. Stunning, love, obsessed. Volume 12 of Spy Family is also coming out during the summer. I've been slowly keeping up with Spy Family as the volumes release. I'm not quite as obsessed with it as I used to be a couple years ago, but I do enjoy the casual read. I'm already the 11 volumes into the series, and it takes little to no time for me to continue on with reading it as the volumes come out, so those are my 2 little mangas that I want to get to this summer. The next book on my TBR is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is one of Katie's favorite books ever, so I wanted to give it a go. It seemed like something I could enjoy. Set in the Regency period. Obviously, we'll see. It's difficult to find a husband in Regency England when you're a young lady with only half a soul. Ever since she was cursed by a fairy, Theodora Eddings has had no sense of fear or embarrassment, a condition which makes her prone to accidental scandal. Dora hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season. When the strange, handsome, and utterly uncouth Lord Sorcier discovers her condition, she is instead drawn into a dangerous and peculiar fairy affair. If Dora's reputation can survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all of high society, then she may yet reclaim her normal place in the world. But the longer Dora spends with Elias Wilder, the more she begins to suspect that one may indeed fall in love, even with only half a soul. Bridgerton meets Howl's Moving Castle in this enchanting historical fiction. Are you kidding me? What a combo. What an absolute killer of a combo. I myself love Bridgerton. I've been keeping up with the seasons as they release. Spectacular, stunning, no notes. I have been so tempted to pick up the books because I just like want to know what happens sooner than probably like 4 or 5 years by the time the series is actually complete. But we must remain patient because I really love the Netflix show. I love it so much. Anyways, tangent aside, I'm really excited to pick up Half a Soul. It seems like something that I will enjoy. I made Katie really nervous though because for some reason our favorite books never really align, but this one feels like it will. So I have high hopes. And it's way shorter than I anticipated when I bought a copy and I was like, oh, it's pretty skinny. I think it's like 350, I want to say, pages, maybe like a little less. Seems like a perfect book to dive into for the summer though. The next book that I threw on this TBR kind of for a funny reason. It's The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. I was like, summer, sunny, sunlit, sure, we'll go with it. This is the last secret project that I have yet to actually read, but I did want to read all of Brandon Sanderson's secret projects, so I thought, you know, what better time than to throw it on my summer TBR, because it had the word sun in it. I just think I am so funny. Brandon Sanderson shows us the future in the Cosmere universe, where a perpetuant planetary wanderer must decide whether to keep running or to stay and make a difference on a struggling planet. Years ago, he had a comrade in arms and a cause to believe in, but now the man who calls himself Nomad knows only a life on the run. Forced to hop from world to world in the Cosmere whenever the relentless night brigades gets too close, Nomad lands on a new planet and is instantly caught up in all the struggles between the tyrant and the rebels who only want to escape being turned into mindless slaves, all under the constant threat of a sunrise whose heat will melt the very stones. God, sounds like Florida. Are we sure this is not a book just taking place in Florida? Unable to understand the language, can he navigate the conflict and gain enough power to leap off-world before his mind or body pay the ultimate price? So we have a Florida man trying to save Florida, is what it sounds like. I'm honestly not sure how I will enjoy this book. This feels much more sci-fi than fantasy leaning, a little bit in my opinion, just because it is future. So I'm wondering like, how, you know, future is this planet. I'm excited regardless. Brandon Sanderson has only disappointed me once with his secret project, so hopefully this will be one that I enjoy. I'm not going into it with too high of expectations, so I'm hoping I'll just be pleasantly surprised with this one. And that's where we're keeping our expectations. I do have a few more Brandon Sanderson books on this TBR, because who would I be if I did not have Brandon Sanderson books on my TBR? The next one being The Words of Radiance, which is the second book in the Stormlight archives. I wanted to pick this up immediately after I finished The Way of Kings. That did not happen. However, I am hoping that it does happen during the summer. Honestly, I'm not too bothered that it's like taken me longer to get to Stormlight, because I'm hoping I can space out the 4 books that I already released perfectly in time to finish them before the 5th book comes out. So I have a strategy, it's just a delayed strategy. The other Brandon Sanderson book slash series is all of Mistborn. If you don't know, we had a little bit of change in plans when it came to Katie and I's Wyverns and Words book club. We are actually ending the book club, but we wanted to end it off with a bang, so we're doing a reread of Mistborn. So obviously we have The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages. Now, Mistborn has been my favorite Brandon Sanderson series, and the level of excitement I have to reread this series is literally unmatched. I'm so excited to reread this series and to chat with everyone about it and to get more people into the Cosmere and into Brandon Sanderson. So I think it was a good choice to end Wyverns and Words like this. In just a brief summary as to why Katie and I are ending Wyverns and Words, we've got a lot on our plate, we've got a lot going on, and it just became very hard to manage everything. We are still continuing the book club, just without the live shows. We'll pick buddy reads that everyone can read together. It's just not guaranteed that we will actually get to that book, but we'll continue running. So if you want to join the Discord community, it is always linked below, just in case. And the last book is actually one that my patrons recommended and I had never heard of before this point, but it sounds so cute and so fun, and it's I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons by Peter S. Beagle. A cast of characters trapped within their roles of dragon hunter, princess, and more must come together to take their fates into their own hands. Dragons are common in the backwater kingdom of Belmontigan, coming in sizes from mouse-like vermin all the way up to castle-smashing monsters. Gaius Aurelius Constance Heliogabalus Thrax, who would much rather people call him Robert, has recently inherited his deceased dad's job as dragon catcher slash exterminator, a career he detests with all his heart, in part because he likes dragons, feeling a kinship with them, but mainly because his dream has always been the impossible one of transcending his humble origin to someday becoming a prince valet. Needless to say, fate has something different in mind. It sounds fun. I've literally never heard of Peter S. Beagle before, so I'm curious to see what I think about his writing, whether or not it'll be good or not. It's a recent release, so I'm hoping that it's a good one. And that just about wraps up my summer TBR. I really hope you enjoyed hearing all the options and potential books that I will be reading this summer. I'm hoping I can get to all of them. Obviously that is best case scenario. If not, I'm hoping I at least get to all the romance reads, because all of these I'm very, very excited about. Quite a decent lineup of books. If y'all have any more recommendations for me though, please let me know. I always love hearing what y'all think I might enjoy. Also, if you want to share your TBR for summer, list a couple books, let me know ones that you're anticipating. Feel free. Always love chatting books with y'all in the comments. I of course want to give a huge shout out to my lovely patrons. If you're ever looking for some more exclusive content from me, that is the place to go. We have monthly buddy reads, quarterly read-a-thons, exclusive videos. It is just a fun and delightful time over there. So thank you for your support. And of course, thank you all for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Toodles!